My father's voice still lingers in the empty place he carved inside me. He didn't wait for an explanation, didn't search my face, didn't ask who harmed me. He stood in the doorway, his jaw locked, his eyes burning with anger he'd been saving for years. And when he shouted, "Leave, get out of this house," he didn't notice that I wasn't shedding a single tear. I was smiling. He believed he was delivering punishment. He didn't realize he'd just tipped the first domino. 15 years earlier, everything changed. I can still feel the strap of my bag digging into my shoulder as I walk down that familiar path, his words echoing behind me. I remember the cold biting at my skin, the crushing loneliness, but above all else, I remember the sudden, brutal clarity. People think clarity arrives gently, like morning light. Mine struck like steel. He didn't want the truth. He never had. And that truth was simple. I hadn't betrayed him. He abandoned me the moment he chose disgrace over his own daughter. Before that day, I truly believed my father loved me. Not perfectly, but enough. He taught me to balance on a bicycle, soothe a scraped knee, face the world with a bit of courage. But looking back, the cracks are obvious. The small jabs, the way he tensed when I challenged him, the devotion he demanded yet never offered. I once hoped he'd stand with me in the darkest moment of my life. Instead, he shoved me straight into it. Years passed. I rebuilt myself from ashes he didn't bother to sift through. And then the truth surfaced. He never asked about the pregnancy. Never wanted to know. It wasn't something I chose. It came from a man my father admired. The man he defended, joked with, welcomed into our home. The same man I tried to warn him about. But he silenced me then too, telling me not to stir trouble. He chose pride. He chose his friend. He chose to stay blind. But I had finally learned how to see. I didn't seek him out. Didn't write. Didn't try to mend what he shattered. Instead, I poured everything into my son, my miracle, my anchor, my fire. I raised him with the tenderness my father lacked. I taught him strength without cruelty, bravery without violence, conviction without shouting. And I waited not for revenge, but for the right moment. Because people like my father always return when they want something. Validation, forgiveness, a clean slate. So I built a life impossible to ignore. A thriving business, a home with tall windows and locked gates, a reputation strong enough that his gossip couldn't scratch it. Every achievement, every milestone of mine and my son's, I let drift through the grapevine at a distance. Not boast, just echoes he couldn't escape. Let him sit with the reality of the daughter he discarded, and the grandson he turned away with one careless decision. My son grew into a man whose gaze was sharp like mine, but far warmer. He didn't know every detail yet, but he understood one thing. Some people forfeit the right to step inside your home. And then, 15 years after the night he threw me out, it happened. A knock, timid, aged. Through the camera, I saw my father hunch with time, and my mother behind him, clutching guilt she didn't know how to present. I didn't rush to the door. My son reached it first. When he opened it, their faces stalled. They weren't looking at me. They were staring at him. Tall, composed, steady-eyed, a living reminder of the truth they refused to hear all those years ago. My father's lips trembled. Is your mother here?" he stammered. My son didn't budge. "She's home," he replied softly. "But you're not welcome." My father's expression collapsed. That's when I stepped into view behind my son. I didn't say a word at first. I didn't have to. He saw it all. Everything he'd thrown away. Everything I'd built without him. Everything he could never reclaim. His voice broke. "Please, what have you done?" I gave him the same quiet smile I wore the day he cast me out. "I protected my child. I told him. Something you never did." They left without speaking again. My son closed the door gently, as though sealing something ancient and dead behind it. For the first time, the weight lifted. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't retaliation. It was release. People say revenge is about causing pain, but they're wrong. Real revenge is living a life they said you'd never have, and watching them realize they never deserved a place in it. I turned away from the door, letting the final ghost of that broken girl slip away. I didn't break. I rose,